Okay, I think we're live. It is hey buddy, what's going on, man? Um just wanted to come on and give the latest update on Milton, Hurricane Milton. It's 3:49 a.m. Today is Tuesday, I think. And today is hold on a second. Today is got to be the 8th, right? Yeah, because it's my daughter's birthday. So we're going to go over some of the uh coordinates, some of the projected path. Also, we're going to go over some of the intensity levels and all of that shit. So I'll do a quick intro while I get some maps going and I'll be right back. Good to see Curious Contrarians in here. Thanks, buddy. Let me play this here. Be right back. All right, so give me 2 seconds. Um, I was trying to look for something and uh, not seeing what I'm worth looking for. All right, hold on a second. History. Well, I know. Hold on a second. Okay, so I know. Um, I don't know why this is doing this to me. Hold on. Lowest pressure. Anyways, all right. I'll get back to this in a second. I'm trying to find. Hey, Park, you. How are you doing? Good to see you. Good to see everybody. Trying to come up with a list of the lowest pressure hurricanes ever recorded. I know Wilma has got to be right up there. Wilma was pretty bad. I know Lee. Was it Lee or Rita? Hey, Lisa Joe, how are you? Good to see you. Um, I'm trying to find a list of storms, but it's not telling me. Yes, so Hurricane Wilma in 2005. That was the lowest recorded pressure in an Atlantic hurricane, and that was in the I think that was in the Central Caribbean, Western Caribbean. I'm sorry. And that was at 882 millibars. So this storm here is. Hey, Charlotte. Good to see you, Charlotte. You're recovering from night shifts, midnight shifts. It takes a different person to be a night person. Uh, I've always, for some reason, um, I just work better at nights. There's less people. It's, all right, so let's get right into it. So on record, I think Hurricane Wilma, I think, was the lowest in the Atlantic. When they consider the Atlantic, they mean the entire basin, the Atlantic Ocean, Caribbean, Gulf of Mexico. I don't know what the lowest pressure out in the Pacific was. That's what I was trying to find, but we're at extreme. This is like extreme levels here. Hey, Ron Logan. Ron Logan's here. All right. Good to see everybody. Curious Contrarians here too. I'll try to make this as quick as possible since this is going to be kind of boring. Um, you can't sleep during the day, so I end up with such a sleep deficit that I could probably, yeah. Um, that's why I say night shift is for not for everybody. Neither is day shift. I know a lot of people can't work day shift either. All right, so let's. So this is basically going to be a nightmare. There's really no other way to describe this system here. Now, first look here, you're going to see no eye formation here, but what's probably happening right now is the storm itself, because of how intense this system is. It's probably going under what they call a eye wall reconstruction phase here, or it's trying to really get more intensified. So it's going what they call an eye wall replacement cycle. And it is kind of on the south side, anyways, the southeastern side is kind of interacting with land here. So that could be another reason, but there's no indication that this storm here is really weakening any. If anything, it's going, nighttime, it's going to cool down a little bit. So it's not going to be as warm here at nighttime. But my opinion, it's probably going through an eye wall replacement cycle. So let's take a look at, let's see here. I just got home, so sorry. I'm not as prepared as I normally am. So this is the lightning intensity of the storm, and you can see that right around the eye wall is where all the major convection is. So right in the center here is where most of the convection is, but you can see all of these feeder bands starting to really kick up here. This is going to be just a nightmare. Once the storm gets basically past this parallel here, you're going to see a lot more of these convection bands just really start producing what they call these heavy banded thunderstorm cells. And these are just going to continue to wrap inside to the center here. This is this is unprecedented in two ways. One, the pressure here in the Gulf of Mexico, and I've been trying to figure out if there's been a lower pressure point in the Gulf of Mexico or not. That's what I was just trying to do. And two, very few storms form here and take this trajected path here. I think there's only been two or three that I can remember that have gone and started in the Western Gulf and moved across and hit Florida like this. Very, very few. Usually they form here, in the Caribbean here, and they go north or they go west. But very few times do they start west and go east like this here. The good news, there is a little bit of good news. So there's a front that's dropping here across the central part of the country. Now it's dropping basically from northwest to southeast. And that's going to prohibit this storm from doing the same thing that Helene did and kind of go through the Big Bend here, the peninsula here, in Tallahassee, and then go back up into North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia. So that's good news. That's the last thing they need is more of this shit. So this is the 6 o'clock advisory here. Extremely powerful Hurricane Milton just north of the Yucatan Peninsula, which is right there. Milton poses an extremely serious threat to Florida, and residents are urged to follow orders. You do what you got to do. right? If you can get out, get out. If you can't, you can't. I mean, uh, because nobody's going to be able to tell you exactly where the storm's going to hit. Nobody's going to be able to tell you the exact intensity of the storm. And, uh, I'm a big believer in these storms here. People will focus way too much attention on the center of the circulation here. But a lot of the storm damage comes from these feeder bands here that, set up shop wherever they set up shop. And, these heavy embedded thunderstorms here can drop a lot of water in a very short period of time. So, I mean, it's good to pay attention to the center, especially east of the center, and directly either northeast or southeast of the storm is probably where most of the impacts are going to be. But as we saw with Hurricane Helene, very little. I mean, there was damage along the Florida coast here, but a lot of the damage came a day later, actually. So, if you live anywhere in the Big Bend here, say from, I think that's Perry right there, Perry, Florida, right where my cursor is, all the way down to the very tip of Florida here, the Keys, Naples, Clearwater, Tampa, anywhere in this section, even on the eastern side of Florida here, I would, you know, what's today? Tuesday. So Tuesday, you know, I would make preparations today because tomorrow's going to get really bad. Uh, let's go here. I want to check one more thing here before I get out of this. This is basically for me here. So you can see this thing's moving pretty good now. Before, when it was over in here, was kind of just stationary, but now this front is really starting to pick this thing up here and move it. So the front that's dropping across the country right now is really starting to. It's almost like a fishing lure here. It's just kind of pulling this storm now to the northeast. So going to kind of curveball into the Gulf Coast of Florida here, and we'll get a track here shortly. All right, so back to this. The minimum central pressure was 924. Yesterday, they found an estimated pressure at 898. So this has come up a little bit. All right, so let's go back to the chat. Hey, Jocelyn, how are you? Good to see you. We don't have hurricanes and tornadoes in Australia. We have cyclones. You get cyclones too there. Yep, they're called typhoons. Hey, Miracle Hearts, how are you doing? Yes. I'm pretty sure that most people have either relatives or people that they know live in Florida. Like I have family in Florida too. Yeah. Thank you, Miracle Hearts. I really appreciate it. I'm glad for everybody coming in. Like I said, if you're, if you wait to the last second, they don't do that anymore. Years ago, they used to give people the benefit of the doubt. If they get out, they get out. Nowadays they'll give you, you don't have to leave. You don't have to go anywhere. But they're also not going to come get you either. If the storm hits and you don't evacuate, and they told you to evacuate, they're not going to send search and rescue teams in to help you in the middle of a freaking hurricane like this. So just keep that in mind. There's they you are fine. Like if you want to stay, that's fine. But when the storm hits and you try to call for help in the middle of the storm, they're probably not going to come get you because it's just too dangerous. Hey, Jocelyn, how are you? Good to see you. Your good friend, Florida and North Carolina. Yeah, it's like I said, Florida's been through these things before, especially on the Gulf side. But, you know, um, all right, so let's go. What are we doing now? I want to go. Hold on a second. Let me go back. Can I go back here? Let's go all the way back. I guess we can start here. So this is the water vapor here. This is at the mid level here. So you can see, this storm has got nothing in its way. Nothing's going to really prohibit this storm from, strengthening. There's a little bit of cooler water here. We'll get some ocean temperatures here fairly shortly here, but um, there's nothing. There's no shear here. There's no dry air getting into this system here. So this is the front that's dropping. Uh, there's low pressure way up here. I can get an image of that here pretty soon. But this is the front that's going to kind of pull this storm this way. Uh, there's an upper ridge here. So this is basically, I believe this is counterclockwise here. This is counterclockwise. So it's kicking this thing to the east here. Let's go down a level here. I'm sorry, this is the lower. So let's go up a level here. So you'll see here in the lower level, there's a little bit of dry air here, but this system has cocooned itself so good that nothing's going to get in here. Um, there's no way any dry air right now can penetrate into this system here because it's tightly wound. It's going to be really impossible for any of this dry air to kind of get into this system here. And this dry air sucks because this dry air here, if it tried to get in here, would kind of weaken the storm quite a bit. But there is a little bit of cooler air here, water temperatures here along the coast of Florida that might, prevent this from being a Cat 5 when it approaches Florida here. But we'll see. It's not written in stone, that's for sure. Let's go up a level here. Let's do this. Let's go. Okay, so here we go. This is the entire this side of the planet. Here's Florida. There's the Gulf of Mexico here. That is Leslie right there, and Kirk is way up here now. This is going to be a problem for Europe, actually. This is going to be Paris, some parts of the Iberian Peninsula here. This might be a pretty good sized ocean storm here, but as far as us here in the United States, Kirk is a goner. It's gone. Here's Leslie here. Here's another wave coming off Africa here. But this system right here, yesterday I was kind of worried about this system here. Was producing some rain here on the eastern side of Florida here. And, the last thing they need is rain before this storm gets here because it kind of just saturates the ground more. But here's that front that's dropping here. You can see it. It's basically over here now, and it's going to pull this system up with it. Right, so let's go here. Oop, I want the okay, so here's that front that's dropping. You can see it just dropping across the country. And this system here is actually preventing this Hurricane Milton from getting up into the mainland United States. It's kind of blocking its path from going into eastern Tennessee again, western North Carolina. So this is good. I mean, this is good here because the last thing they need is more rain. All right, so let's hold on a second. Let me get out of that. Hopefully everybody's doing okay in the chat. Dad's in Newport Richie. They got evacuated. They've been evacuated. I should have. I should have been a meteorologist. Uh, but you know, uh, thank you though. I've been following these storms for so long. But the thing with the Gulf of Mexico is anything's possible. All right, so let's go. What are we doing now? I'm gonna go here. Let's go back to the latest advisories here. All right, let me share this here. This will probably be my last update, unless I can get my ass up later this afternoon. Um, I can't promise anything, no. But anyways, here's the latest on this is coming from the National Hurricane Center here. So this is what's going on in the Atlantic, and Kirk is up here, but it's basically extra tropical now, so that's why it's not being shown as a tropical system. It's way up in the cooler waters here in the Atlantic, and it will be an ocean storm for parts of Western Europe, though, for sure. Northwestern Europe. I don't want to, scare the shit out of people from England, but if you're in Paris or Western France, parts of the Iberian Peninsula are over here, it could be fairly damaging over there. Anyways, so back closer to home, here's Leslie here. Um, this will probably start to weaken a little bit now. It's at 988. So you can tell the difference in the pressures here. 988 here, 75 miles per hour. This is located 18.4 north, 43.5 west, and it's moving at a pretty normal clip, 14 miles per hour. And this is the track here. It's basically getting into this no man's land here in the Atlantic Ocean, which is much cooler water temperatures here than it is, say, in this parallel here. So once it gets in here, it's just a dead duck. It's not going to do much. So that's not a problem. This system here, though, see, this is what I had the problem with yesterday. This was down here in this central Caribbean here, and it just kind of, I don't know, broke off from this gyre here, this low pressure gyre here that's constant this time of the year over the Central America here, and it just kind of migrated up into this section here. There's not going to be any, formation here, cyclone formation, but I'll check radar here fairly shortly here because it could provide more rain here to the eastern side of Florida here. And with this system coming, on land here, it might, I don't know, just weaken things just enough for this thing to really do more damage here. But let's see. So we got Hurricane Milton. This is as of 1 a.m. This is the advisory 12A. Of course, we just got the latest one. But you see the difference in pressure here. 924 and Leslie was at 988. So this thing here is much more intense, much more compact. It's like taking one of those old tops and spinning them down to get the circulation. So the more you spin it, the more it's going to wrap around. So this is what's going on here. 135 knots as far as sustained winds, 155. So that's definitely, Cat 3, almost Cat 4, probably located 22.1 north. And it's moving pretty good now, 9 miles per hour. That's pretty average for a tropical system. So let's go here. So this is the latest track here. Everybody still with me? Okay, good. You're in Belgium later this week? Thank you, guys. I appreciate that. I don't. What I try to do is come on here and give people the as much facts as I know. I try not to scare the shit out of people, like some of these people do. But this is a serious system here. This is uh, not going to be good. It'd be one thing. Yesterday. What's today? Tuesday. I think Sunday they had this thing kind of just once it got into the Caribbean, Gulf of Mexico here, just kind of beelining it across Florida and then out to the Atlantic. And that would have been great because, the faster this thing moves across Florida, the better chance of. But now they have this thing kind of, now that they had Hurricane Hunter in here, and we'll go to that in a second. I want to go to that in a second. This thing's going to take more of a southern jog and then up. So that's telling me that, as this thing approaches here, these outer bands are really going to cause some havoc here with the southernmost part of the Gulf side of Florida here. And even, as this thing wraps around here, you might see some extra flooding on the eastern side of Florida here as this thing circulates as it moves up and then finally makes landfall. So, especially with this other system that's kind of, right in this area here too. So, you know, um, this is the worst possible path it could have taken. This one here. Right. So that's the path there. So by Wednesday, 7 o'clock, you're probably going to start feeling a lot of these impacts here in the target zone here. But this is subject to change. This could change. Let me shut this off here. It's annoying. This is today is Tuesday, right? So this projected path here could change quite a bit. It could be anywhere inside this cone right now. So this could shift north. This could shift south. All indications, though, since this front is dropping across the country here, and you have high pressure out here, it's got a narrow window of opportunity here. So it's telling me that this is going to kind of hit somewhere in the Tampa area, maybe a little bit north, maybe a little bit south, but 20 miles north or south here could make a big difference on this storm here. All right, so let's go back. Here's your rainfall totals, and this is bad, right? This is 12 to 16 here. In the brown, you could see 16 to 20. This is a lot of water here, and they just got hit, last week, literally by Helene in here. So this is not going to be good. And even like I'm saying, even over in this area here, especially, Fort Lauderdale here, as this thing approaches here, this is going to really pour a ton of water in here on the eastern side too. So let's go back. Wind speed probabilities here. This is a smaller system, though. This is much smaller than Helene as far as the overall size. This is Helene was a massive system. Helene took up almost 2/3 of the Gulf. This is a much smaller, compact storm here. So, you're not going to feel any type of tropical force winds, 200 miles from the center. It's going to be very compact in this, kind of reddish area here. I don't think the tornado threat is going to be all that great here in this. You might see, some water spouts trying to make it onto land here. I don't think the tornado threat's going to be terrible in this system here, but you never know. So this is 90 plus in the purple. And we're going to go to, let's do that now. So this is Milton right here. Um, all right, so this was done. This was done earlier yesterday, I think. I wonder if anybody can see that. Can everybody see that? Oh, Jocelyn's leaving? Oh, that sucks. Have a good day, Jocelyn. Hope you have a great day. Thank you, Charlotte, for posting that. Um, you guys are all awesome. Thank you. All right, so right now we are in. This is the flight data that they took. They sent a reconnaissance plane in here, a Hurricane Hunter. I think this was done. This is the first one here. So, so what they did is they flew in, um, took a whole bunch of coordinates here. That's why we got a much better track right now. Then flew around the storm um, to the east, to the north, all of this, and then they flew up. But you can see here, this is the wind speed data here. You're going to see some of these 160 mile per hour winds here. And this is to the southeast of the center. So this is knots. So this is you're probably talking 175 mile an hour winds here. And then you go, you just plot this along, you go up and around the center here, 24. This is right in the eye wall, 160 on the western side, 87 down here. So this is probably 40 miles or 50 miles from the center. And then you even go out here. This is, 75. This is probably more like 60 miles out from the center. And then on the western side, you go out here, you're still talking hurricane force here, even down into here. And I'm trying to find the highest one they had. 97, 127, 153, 118, 162, 172 here on the western side, 136. So this is a beast. I mean, this system here is terrible. Oh, it sucks. Oh. But you get further out, 100 miles out, there's 36, 38, 42. That's above tropical storm force winds there. Then you go 32. So this is not a very big system. Helene was massive. Helene, you go out 100 miles from the center, you're still getting tropical storm force. So and then you get way out here, there's nothing. There's absolutely nothing. But up in here, 50, 55, 60 mile per hour is here. Down in here, 66. There'll be another Hurricane Hunter out here later today, I would assume. But this is not good. This is terrible. Let's see if I can get another one here. This is let me get back here. Hopefully everybody's not falling asleep. See, I'll go back to Helene here. Helene was see, Helene was much bigger. I mean, this is Helene's data here. And they were getting tropical storm force winds all the way out here. 150 miles out, they were getting 70 mile per hour winds here. So that's why this storm here was so much more of a problem, because it was just such a big storm. Hurricane Milton is much more compact. It's much smaller. So anyways, yeah, I think they did shut down Yeah, Hurricane Helene was a big storm. That was probably the size of um, Katrina. Katrina was a pretty good sized storm. That's why it did so much damage when it got over North Carolina because it was just a big storm. All right, so let's get out of here. I want to go do a couple more things here. Um, I think I can get out of here now, though. Yep. All right, so we'll do a forecast track here. I hope Jocelyn has a great day. Let me present this here. I'll check the radar really quick here. As you can see, there's nothing going on in the country here right now. There's frost warnings here. We got some frost warnings here up in it's cold up here, but that's because of this system. It's just pushing all the heat down south here. Okay, so here's the radar coming up out of southern Florida here. But you see this system here that we were just looking at, that yellow X that was on here. See these rain bands here that are kind of from this system here, bringing some decent rains here to Naples, Everglades City, even down here to the Key West, Key Largo here. This could be a problem here, especially if they drench, this area here, and then they get Hurricane Milton coming in here with even more. And there's nothing going on north of Fort Myers, which is good, but this is heavy rains here. I wouldn't be surprised to see some water spouts here soon. All right, so let's go back. I want to check out. Let's check out water temperatures here. Probably going to be the same as yesterday's. Okay, so here's the entire Atlantic Basin here. This is Africa here, Florida here. There's the Gulf of Mexico here, Yucatan Peninsula. So there's our storm basically right in this area here. So, there's just tons of fuel. This is really warm in here. This is 84, 85, 86 degrees in here. It's bathwater. This has been the problem all year here in the Gulf. The Gulf has been steaming hot. This is really, you even look in the Atlantic here. This is still pretty good. This is 28. You get 30 in here. And that was the hope. Hurricane Helene was supposed to. The thinking was Hurricane Helene was going to kind of upwell some of these waters in here to cool them off a little bit, but it didn't do that. It didn't, if it would have stayed over this body of water for a long period of time, it might have been able to do that. But it just kind of got past Cuba here and just booked it right into the Carolinas here. And that didn't do much for the, because if these storms stay over water long enough, they'll bring cooler water up from the bottom. They call that upwelling, and then it'll cool off the water temperatures here, but it didn't do that. This is the anomaly loop here. So you're still 2 over here. It's just, this has been a problem in the Gulf the entire year. We've had nothing in the Atlantic because of high pressure here. The Bermuda high has been basically anything that's coming off the coast of Africa here has just basically been redirecting it around. So it's good for, North Carolina, South Carolina, the coastline, the east coast of Florida, but um, everything has been in the Gulf here. Everything's either come across and then formed in the Gulf or just formed in the Gulf. But you see here, there's a little bit of cooler water close to the shoreline here. So that's the thinking, right? That once this gets past the Yucatan Peninsula, starts its approach on Florida here, that it might weaken in a little bit of cooler water here, but I wouldn't count on that. Just wouldn't. Uh, that's why I wish they would get rid of the Saffir-Simpson scale completely. I think it's people go by numbers, right? If people hear 5, they start to freak out. People hear 1, they're not going to freak out as much if they hear the number 1. But I'll tell you, I've seen Cat 1 hurricanes do more damage than Cat 5 hurricanes. I've seen, tropical storms like Harvey that hit Texas that just wouldn't go away. Do more damage with flooding, and that was just a tropical storm technically, and it just stayed over Texas forever. It just seemed to never want to leave. All right, so let's check storm tracks. It's just weird how people go by numbers. They hear 4 or 5 and they just start to panic. I would panic if I lived down there if there was a Cat 1, because anything. Look what Helene did. Helene was technically a tropical storm when it was up in the in the Ohio Valley there, but it did so much damage. It's awful. All right, so let's try this here. So this is the single model. That's not available. This is, I think, okay. So this is the GFS track here. And here we go. So this is plotting this here. So this is Wednesday morning. This is how fast the system's going to start to move, though. Okay, so here we are. This is Tuesday, 12 o'clock, right? So here's Tuesday, 12 o'clock, and it's still a major hurricane here. So we'll why does that do that to me? I don't know why that does that to me. Okay. Okay, so we're back here. This is Wednesday afternoon, 24 hours from right this very second, right? Here's that other system that's going to take off too. So this is good news. It's going to kind of, here's Leslie right here. So this is when it starts its elevator ride up here. But it's all being pulled along by this front here. So this front is going to kind of pull it along and then just kind of leave it alone. And then this thing is just going to take off into the peninsula here. This is Wednesday noontime, 36 hours from now. This is still a major hurricane here. This is Thursday. So this is the problem here. It's been kind of drifting a little bit more north than it was yesterday, and it's even more north now. So that's why the landfall has been pushed ahead now to overnight, Wednesday into Thursday. This is 48 hours from right this very second. And that's landfall right there, Thursday morning, right there. That's your landfall. So that is that Cedar Key right there. Can't tell. Um, that's right around. That's right. That's Tampa, I think, right there. We're just a little bit north of Tampa, and that's 6 in the morning. That's Thursday, 54 hours from right now. Let's go to the ensembles here. So this is everybody's pretty much model here. So you follow this purple line. This is like everybody's, but the consensus is in this purple line here, but this is probably 10, 20 different model types, but these the consistency here in the purple is probably what to follow. So we'll do this. It's Wednesday. Yeah, this thing's pushed a lot more north than it was yesterday. This was kind of coming up into just above Clearwater here, but now it's all the way up here into I don't know what that is. That's probably more towards Gainesville. Is that Gainesville? And this is Thursday noontime. So Thursday noontime, it's going to be basically encompassing almost the entire state of Florida. Yeah. Get back to chat here. Sorry, guys. Hey, Prod 305. I don't think so. It seems like see, yeah, finally yesterday they got a hurricane hunter in there to actually get a coordinate of where the center of circulation was, because before that they were just kind of guessing with buoys and some of the GFS models. But yesterday they flew into the system and they got a really good center of circulation down there. So I think Miami's out, but you could still get some pretty significant. Hold on a second here. Significant feeder bands that could. I would not be surprised with the latest potential forecast here, where you see waterspouts trying to make it in onto land here, and waterspouts. Once they get over land, they're called tornadoes. So, you know, I mean, if that happens, it could be, you know, um, bad news. But I still don't think that the tornado threat from this storm is going to be all that bad. But the more it pushes north here, the more it could. So I don't want to rule it out. But if this system started down here in the Gulf, in the Caribbean, and then moved north up into Georgia here, then you'd have a much bigger risk of tornadoes. But this thing here they keep trying to make this go a little bit more north than south here. So, and these are all very consistent here. You don't see a lot of divergence here with any of these models taking it, more south, more north. Everything's kind of right in this general area. That's unusual. I mean, look at Leslie here. There's models all over the place. Um, These models here are pretty consistent with where this is going to go. But like I said, that could change. I mean, it's got a couple of days to figure out what it wants to do. Yeah, this is going to be, depending on. Uh, let's go back to a radar here. Um, I do want to do one more thing here. So this is your storm surge warning and graphic here. So let's go back to this one here. So obviously, and this is the 13th advisory on this. So this was issued this morning at 4 o'clock. So, and this might change a little bit, but the surge is going to be basically southeast of the center. So wherever the center hits, so if say the center hits here, Tampa, right? Your surge is going to be to because this is coming kind of at a curveball angle here. So, you take a circle and you split it down the middle here, and then you turn it a little bit. So, kind of south of Tampa here. So, in this area here, I don't know where that is. That's I know. Why doesn't it give me? St. Petersburg, south of St. Petersburg here. I don't know this area of Florida very well, so I don't know where that is. Those towns are. Uh, Basically Sarasota, just due north of Sarasota. So if it comes in here, Tampa, right? The center, say the center goes over St. Petersburg and Tampa here. The surge is going to be basically down here, down up, north of 25 miles here down. So just about in here somewhere. So, but anywhere, this could jog north. I'm just saying your surge is going to be basically southeast of where the center hits. Um, but they have watches and warnings all over the place. All of from Gainesville on down here. All right. So, so I think if you're in Miami here, um, I don't want to see you're going to be spared, but um, in Miami, heavy rains, possible tornadoes. But I think for the most part, it's going to be right along um, Tampa due south, um, and but I'm telling you, these systems here, if they're like this here, this is the 12th advisory here. So this was done. All right. So we'll go back here to this. Ooh, See this system here, though. This was a problem for me yesterday, but it seems to be cooperating and heading out. Um, yeah, I know it sucks. Like I said last week, if I had time left, if I had any vacation time left, I would have been down there. Um, it sucks to see people go through that. It's you know, just one day. It sucks. It's awful. Um, I hope everybody. That's why I was worried about Karen Lee because she kind of lives out that way, but she's all right. Uh, so here's that other system that I was talking about. There's a little bit of spin here. You see that kind of rotation right there, but this is cooperating and heading out. So that's good news. Because if this system would have parked over here, talking about a tremendous amount of water, man. So I wanted to do. So there's the system right there, and you see, um, I think what's happening right now is it's going through what they call an eye wall replacement cycle here. Um, so that's telling me that's probably getting stronger. Once they go through you'll notice that the eye wall replacement cycles, it seems to really, really wind up and intensify, and then the eye wall collapses and then reforms again. It usually gets big. The eye wall gets bigger. Um, but these are the feeder bands that are going to be a problem here. So you got to watch these feeder bands here. Seems like it might be getting a tiny bit of wind shear up here to the north, but I'll go back to it's a pretty good system, man. This is not gonna be good. It's not. I mean, I'm holding on to straws here by thinking this is getting any wind shear here, but it could be because if I put the longitude and latitude lines back on here, it's starting to make its kind of hook up now. So it's no longer moving west to east now. It's kind of taking that jog northeast here a little bit. But anyways, all right, let's listen to some professionals and then I'll get out of here. Let's go here. Let's see if I got something. Yeah, okay, we'll do this one here. Hold on a second. Let's get out of here. But that's a beautiful storm. I mean, it's complete buzzsaw outflow, very good. Wrapping around the south, turning around to the north. This is, it's good to look at, not good to be in. That's for sure. All right, let's go here to this guy. This is the latest. This is 2 hours ago. Um,
It is 2:30 on this very early Tuesday morning, and NBC2 and ABC7 are joining forces right now to keep you ahead and informed ahead of Hurricane Milton. It's great to have you with us. I'm Alan Campbell.
And I'm Lisa Spin. We also have our team of meteorologists, of course, working round the clock, getting you the most up-to-date information. 2 o'clock advisory came in.
See, I don't think I've ever seen anything like this either. All of these forecast models are pretty much agreeing, and there's got to be at least 12 to 15 models in here.
Prizes, or was it?
And this was done 2 hours ago. So
pretty much what you guys have been thinking would hold true?
I mean, the fact that it's weaker, we're back to category 4 after throughout the day yesterday, just explosive development. I mean, all the way up to 185 miles per hour in the southwestern Gulf of Mexico, one of the strongest storms on record. But I think what we have going on is something called an eye wall replacement cycle. It's a sort of
Charlotte's an awesome person. Charlotte is everybody here in the chat's an awesome person. Miracle Heart's great. FireQ's great. It's always good to have all you guys in here.
a complicated process, but this was such a small, tiny little eye. That's usually the early parts of a major hurricane's life cycle. Go ahead and take the satellite photo. We'll take a look at that latest view of it. You start with that tiny, what we call pinhole eye.
So you see this. This is like what they call an eye wall replacement cycle. So you'll get this eye wall, and what happens is sometimes when they start to move a little bit faster, or once they start to, I want to say, kind of re-intensify, this eye wall will actually collapse in on itself and then rebuild. And it's basically trying to grab as much moisture as it can, as much fuel as it can. These thunderstorms will start popping up around the center, and then you'll get a bigger eye wall. Because there's nothing shearing this. There's absolutely nothing prohibiting this thing from getting more compact. It's kind of interacting a little bit too here with the Yucatan Peninsula, so it might be getting some, a little bit of dry air in here from the land interaction here, but not much. So it's telling me this is probably going through an eye wall replacement cycle here. That's why the pressure's up a little bit, but this will drop again.
It got down yesterday. The width of the eye, when it was at its peak intensity, was down to only 4 miles wide. Just crazy stuff with this. And you think of the conservation of angular momentum, right? Just like the ice skater who pulls their arms in and it makes them spin faster. As that radius of the eye gets smaller and smaller, it allows those winds to crank up further and further and further. So allow it to get to 185. Now, what happens in the eye wall replacement cycle is you take that tiny eye, a new sort of eye wall forms around it and sort of kills off that inner eye wall. And temporarily, as it restructures itself, as the storm restructures itself, you see a weakening. So
you can kind of see that right here, right? It's kind of, you got the center kind of wrapping around itself. You got these darker reds coming in here, and that's telling me that the eye wall is going to be a little bit bigger once this wraps around again here.
So I wouldn't necessarily say that this is going to be the beginning of the overall weakening trend we're expected. I think we could see some re-intensification here later on this morning. 155 mile per hour sustained winds, the pressure actually up. We were down below 900 millibars, which is also something not every storm is able to do, to say the least. But you see for yourself, you can't even make out the eye any longer. What was that small pinhole eye? I see evidence on the satellite presentation of a larger eye wall starting to take over. So when we see the eye, if we see the eye clear out again, as we likely will today, it will be larger, which weakening is definitely something we're rooting for. But as we see that eye wall replacement.
Yeah, it's down to a Cat 4, but I think it's going through an eye wall replacement kind of cycle here. It might not, hopefully it's kind of weakening, but I don't see how.
Cycle takeover. It also spreads out the wind field, which will have implications down the road for us here in Florida, as it does mean more spots likely deal with those stronger winds. There's the cone forecast back to category 5. So the Hurricane Center suggesting, yeah, perhaps some re-intensification here back to 165, 160, and then weakening. The weakening trend truly begins as we get into the day tomorrow, as the storm begins to feel some wind shear, as the storm begins to.
See, wherever this 3 is, right? You picture the 3. This is the center, right in the 3. So to the southeast, or almost maybe even due east of this 3 here, is where the surge is going to be the most, because you have all of these circular bands circulating, bringing this water with it. So to the I would say to the very due east or maybe even southeast of this three here is where the surge is gonna, I mean, this could change though. This whole thing could change. It could shift 20 miles north, 20 miles south, 10 miles north, 10 miles south. Could make a big difference of where this surge comes into here.
Inject some dry air. A Category 3 landfall in and around the Tampa area, and then cutting north and east from there. Let's round up the current warnings.
But see, even here, the wrapping around of the system here, some of these feeder bands can really pour a ton of freaking water and thunderhead into the bays here, Miami, Cocoa Beach.
Advisories in effect for parts of Southwest Florida. We have a hurricane warning in effect for Lee County, for Charlotte County, for DeSoto County. We have a hurricane watch for Collier, Glades, and Hendry. What's the difference between watch and warning? One word. Either hurricane conditions expected, that'd be in the warning, or hurricane conditions possible. That would be in the watch. And that's sort of what we're left with here. We are more confident in the chance for hurricane force winds in our northern counties.
Yes, wind shear. Wind shear is basically what you get from like a westerly to an easterly breeze, right? These systems go counterclockwise, and the thunderheads go counterclockwise as well. So if you get a breeze or a shear clearing off those higher up cloud tops, if you go back to, hold on a second here. Where am I? Oops. Where am I? Hold on a second. I can get rid of this, right? Okay, here we are. We're back. All right, so let me go back to this here. Okay, so these what they do with these images here is they give these colors in here to signify the cloud tops. So, blue here is lower cloud, green here is a little higher, and then you go up into the atmosphere. Higher up, you get these oranges here. When you get way up here into these darker reds, the maroons, this white here, these are way up. These cloud tops are, they kind of layer themselves to where the warmer temperature, cooler temperatures up top here in these colder cloud tops here. When you get wind that goes west to east here, it'll shear these cloud tops off and kind of instead of making a funnel normally with just from the sea surface to the top of the cloud top here, the shear will kind of bend these off, and that's why they call it shear, because it shears off the top. So wind shear definitely prohibits any type of massive intensification. Hey, Luis, how are you? Good to see you. So wind shear is a good thing for prohibiting hurricanes, but there's not a lot in the Gulf. You got this front that's dropping here right now. You got 86, 87 degree temperature water here. When it gets over into the eastern Gulf here, closer to, I would say, Florida here, even north of Cuba here, the water temperatures here aren't as warm as they are right out here. And there's a shelf here too, in the ocean here. So, once it gets into the shelf here, it may encounter cooler water temperatures. But one thing I do know is that I think this could be wishful thinking here. I think what might happen with this storm here is if you do the math here, today is Monday morning, Tuesday morning, right? And then you go Wednesday morning, and then Thursday morning. Once it gets to Thursday morning, when it kind of approaches landfall, you might get what they call another eye wall replacement cycle as it nears land here, and that could weaken the storm by the time it actually makes landfall. And that happened a couple of storms ago. I think it went through an eye wall replacement cycle and kind of weakened a little bit before it made landfall. But um, I don't know. I'm not buying that, but it could be. Um, it could. That's why I don't like. I just don't like those threes and fours. I mean, even at a three, if it's a strong category 3 hurricane, who gives a shit? I mean, that's oops, I did it again. That's still a pretty powerful storm. Let me go back here. What was I just doing? Let me, very good. I did it.
Counties, we get closer to that cone, closer to the potential center line track of the storm, and the hurricane winds will struggle a little more to try to get down into Collier County. Flood watch remains in effect. Rain will continue to pile up here today, well ahead of the storm. Breaking the action right now. Most of us are dry right now. I'm tracking some downpours washing back into parts of Collier County. You can see for yourself this rain lifting slowly to the north. So we'll see that rain filling back in later on this morning, Marco Island and Everglades City. And then, of course, the storm surge warning in effect for the entire coastline here of Southwest Florida. It does include parts of Lee County up the Caloosahatchee. It does include Charlotte Harbor. The peak surge values still
See, the problem has been, the Gulf of Mexico right now is all of the convection this year has been in the Gulf of Mexico. Especially with landfalling hurricanes like this. The Atlantic's been fairly busy, but it hasn't been, I don't want to say a lower end season, but there's been a lot of Saharan dust out there. You've had high pressure off the coast of the United States, so anything that's coming across the Atlantic has been kind of pushed out to sea. Convection in the Gulf of Mexico right now is just so any values right now are kind of on the higher end here in the Gulf of Mexico, especially down here in the western Gulf of Mexico. Like this is unprecedented. I've seen maybe 2 or 3 storms that have formed here in the western, basically the Bay of Campeche here, and that have gone east to Florida. Usually when they form here in the western Gulf, they kind of migrate either into Mexico or go up to Texas, or they don't usually take this track here to Florida. I think there's only been, I don't know, one. And to be this intense, like this is a pretty intense storm. So this is record breaking here as far as I'm concerned. I don't ever remember anything like this here.
high, as we were talking about yesterday. Here's our setup. Yes, even as Milton likely makes landfall to our north.
They're right here at Punta Gorda, Cape Coral. I mean, this is where the surge is coming in here, due south of Sarasota here. So just north of Naples here. So this is not good.
north, as all indications are here this morning. That does not save us from the storm surge, as we have that onshore wind pushing the water up against the coastline, bringing that water up over the shore.
And the strange thing is, to the north of that, right? If you go north, right, wherever these winds come in, the southeast, and then wrap around, and on the western side, you might actually see some of these waters up here get pushed out to sea.
6 to 10 foot storm surge expected. Much of Charlotte County and Lee County. You see, though, Englewood in particular, you're not far from that 10 to 15 foot water rise. We're going to dive in, take a closer look at what some of those surge values are expected to be neighborhood by neighborhood coming up here in just a couple of minutes.
Yeah, the pressure is everything, right? The pressure is usually the general so the lower the pressure, like yesterday, this storm went from being basically a tropical storm to a Cat 5 hurricane in, I don't know, less than 24 hours, less than 24 hours. So that's telling me that the barometric pressure bottom dropping out. I don't think I've ever seen anything like that, especially in the Western Gulf like that. It's just really it's bizarre. But that's why that eye wall was so tiny, because it didn't have time to kind of make a big eye wall. It's at the bottom, just drops right out of it, and then but it'll reform today, guarantee it. So we'll play one more and then I'll get out of here. Let's play something closer to home here. Let's go do this one here.
And good morning. Welcome to.
This one was done 41 minutes ago, so very good. And yes, the Jets lost again.
Fox Weather First. I'm Craig Herrera here in New York at our studios. This is the start of today's live coverage of Hurricane Milton approaching Florida. My co-anchor and friend Britta Merwin joins us from Lido Key, Florida, right near Sarasota. Good morning, Britta.
Good morning, Craig. Arriving in Lido Key this morning, a very eerie feeling. There's very few people out and about, as you can imagine. We just had a police officer drive by. Lido Key is 4 miles away from downtown Sarasota. You take the John Ringling Causeway to get over here.
It doesn't always happen that way. Wilma was really, Wilma was powerful, but it wasn't, I've seen storms worse than Wilma, but Wilma was, I think, the lowest recorded barometric pressure in the Atlantic Ocean. So, but it does signify that this thing here means business. That's what it means to me, because it's the Gulf. The Gulf of Mexico is different than, we know a little bit more about the steering currents, what things are going to do, how they're going to react a little bit better in the Atlantic. But the Gulf of Mexico, man, things just don't. It's a little bit less scientifically known in the Gulf, in my opinion.
It's known for St. Armand's Circle. It's an outdoor shopping area.
But I think they got the track right. The track is pretty good. Hey, Dean, what's going on, buddy? This is going to be a pretty good storm here. But like I said, nobody's going to be able to tell you the intensity. Nobody's going to be able to tell you exactly where the damage is going to be. But if you live, say, south of Gainesville, north of Cuba, you're probably going to experience a bad day.
Absolutely beautiful. That's behind the camera, and we'll show you what it looks like this morning. Everything is moved out of the storefronts and everything is boarded up. Meanwhile, behind me, Craig, that's the concern. Debris.
But at 9:25, there'll be another update coming out at shortly. But it's not going to change much until they get another. They'll probably do another flyby today with the Hurricane Hunter, and that's going to give us a better idea.
Piles left over from Helene. This beautiful, quiet neighborhood. About 2,500 residents live here full time because keep in mind, it's a growing population, right? You have a lot of tourists that come in and come out. But for the people that call Lido Key home all year round, their lives are right now out on a sidewalk. And that's going to be a very complicated scenario come tomorrow morning, which is the earliest onset of storm surge that is possible. So Craig, you know, this is going to be a long journey, and this is truly just the beginning.
Yeah, Britta, and as we take a look at some of the debris behind you, I think that's been a big concern as well, right? Trying to clear out the debris, but not really the case in all situations. There just hasn't been enough time.
Plus, the speed of the storm's picked up a little bit. It's 10 miles an hour now instead of yesterday. It was basically just stationary here.
Although there's no way that they can remove it. We have seen one huge truck come through. I mean, keep in mind, it's the middle of the night, and we've seen a debris truck come through, but there's no way to possibly get rid of the debris. So what's behind me is just a couple homes, but driving around Lido Key in the dark of night, every street is the same. And every street is just lined on both sides as if you're going through a tunnel of snow, but instead of the snow, it is people's homes. It's their belongings, it's their memories, it's their furniture, it's their mattresses. And you just have one lane that goes in and one lane that goes out. And there's no way to get rid of that debris before the storm.
This ties the highest winds in record in the Gulf. I knew that was probably accurate. I mean, this is a serious problem.
Surge arrives from Milton.
Yeah, and Britt, I know you, Bob Van Dillen, also traveling yesterday. Some of the hotels have been evacuated. Was yours okay? Because I know it's tough to find a place in a situation like this.
It's very tough. We started making plans for coming to Sarasota this past weekend, and everything was sold out. That gives me a little bit of hope because for the most part, it's for residents. And that's who needs to be in these hotels. You need to be close to home so when Milton is gone, they can get back. But unfortunately, the reality is some of those people in the hotels have been there for over a week because they don't have a home to come back to because of Helene. Looking at the condition of this neighborhood, I don't.
Look at this. So it went Sunday at 2 p.m., right? 80, and then 2 p.m., and then on Monday, so 24 hours, right? It went from 80-mile-an-hour winds to 175. That's just in the Gulf. That's amazing. That's just.
I don't think many people are actually in their homes and have not been in their homes since Helene made its way through, really. You talking about the flight here, that was something that surprised me, Craig.
This is what I'm talking about. Sunday, 980. So just before that Sunday, I remember I did my first live was 1,005 millibars. So I think that was Sunday morning when I first did. I think it was Sunday morning. I did my first live on Milton here, and at that point it was just a weak tropical depression, and then it went 988 to 897. That's, I don't know.
The flight was packed. I mean, they were asking people if.
When the hurricane hunters missed this first, they had this 911 here, the millibar here. But then they when they were flying out, they got this one here, the 897.
They would be willing to fly another day, flying from Newark down to Tampa. We're actually staying in Tampa. We're in evacuation zone B. So we're on standby to evacuate. So far, we haven't been asked to leave. We're on a higher point within the Tampa Bay area in the downtown spot. But we're on standby as well to get evacuated because, of course, we're no exception. If we're asked to leave, we're going to leave.
Absolutely. It's all about life. And
like I said, though, I think this is probably, unless I wake up early enough today, today's Tuesday, this will probably be my last. You taking off, Miracle Hearts? I hope you have a good day. Stay safe. Hey, Big Fish, how are you? Thanks for coming in, Miracle Hearts. It's always good to see you. Oh, who's leaving? Charlotte's leaving? I hope you have a good day, Charlotte. Thank you. I'm getting out of here too. I'm going to finish this up and then get out of here.
And protecting yourselves. Britta Merwin, we'll check in with you throughout the morning as well. I want to get to where Milton is now because, boy, yesterday we were watching this, Britta, the entire team, and watching.
Nope, I want to go back here for a second here really quick. So here's your watches and warnings here. This is a tropical storm warning all the way up here. Because like I said, this isn't a big hurricane. So the wind fields aren't going to be all that, far out. Like Helene was massive. There was tropical storm warnings a good 200 miles out from the center. But this system here being so compact, from I would say Cedar Key down to Fort Myers, that's probably pretty accurate. But if this wobbles just a little bit more north here, 20 miles north, then it might shift up a little bit here. If you live in this area, I would definitely keep an eye on the forecast track for sure. But in this general area, this is the warning here. So this is probably going to happen. That's what a warning means. It's probably going to happen. A watch is, it could happen, right? But a hurricane warning is a pretty good idea. It's going to happen here. And even down here in Key West, Miami, these feeder bands, when they come in here, who knows where they're going to set up. You could see a tremendous amount of water, rain, wrapping around here to Orlando, Cocoa Beach, even Jacksonville. Jacksonville floods all the time, so it doesn't take much for Jacksonville to flood. So, if they get feeder bands that wrap around like this here, but this is where the warnings and watches are. And they got tropical storm watches all the way up to Charleston.
Boy, yesterday we were watching this, Britta, the entire team, and watching the rapid intensification that it was, going from a Cat 1 to a Cat 5 in about 11 hours. Florida just bracing for impact now. Milton has its eyes set on Florida's Gulf Coast. We talk about dangerous, life-threatening impacts, including storm surge, strong winds, potential power outages. Lots of folks evacuating ahead of Milton, as you just heard Britta talk about, talking with Stephen McLeod.
All right, I'm going to get out of here. I want to thank everybody for coming in. I hope everybody has a great day. Charlotte, you're awesome. FARQ, you're great. This will probably be my last update on the storm. So everybody, I hope they stay safe. Yeah, especially the coast. I don't think it's going to get into Western North Carolina, but some of the outer bands could cause a little bit of coastal flooding. Charles Goodman, how are you, buddy? Good to see you. I hope you stay safe, buddy, down there. But I want to thank everybody for coming in. You guys are all awesome. Miracle Hearts, Curious Contrarian, thanks, buddy. If you go live later today, I'll try to catch that. FARQ, you're awesome. Charlotte is great. Dean Johnson, thank you. Charles, you're awesome. Big fish, small pond. Everybody stays safe. Let's hope this thing gets in and out of Florida quickly so, nobody gets hurt. Luis Cuevas, thank you for coming in. You're awesome. Thank you. Let me know if you want a wrench. Who else was in here? I think that's it. But I'm getting tired. Jocelyn was in here. Jocelyn's awesome. Thank you, Jocelyn, so much for coming in. Did I say Miracle Hearts yet? I think so. Lisa Joe was in here. Thank you, Lisa Joe, for coming in. I really appreciate it. If you want a wrench, let me know. I hope Southern Girl's doing all right. I know she had a live last night. I was driving around all over the place and I didn't have any good service. But Southern Gal's awesome. I can't wait to see another one of her lives. Ron Logan was in here. It's good to see Ron Logan. And I was in here. That's fantastic. All right. So I'm done. You're on a spare. All right. We'll see you guys all later. Everybody have a great day. And if you know anybody that lives in the area and they're stubborn and they just don't want to leave, make sure you let them know that they have everything they need to ride out this storm, whether it's batteries for, this, make sure that their cell phone's charged, because you're not going to have power. If you're in that area, very few people are going to have power. So make sure they have enough batteries, water, any type of radio for communications. Just stay safe. That's all. That's all you got to do. Gas in the car. Go get gas today. It's very, very important for people to have gas, because that seems to be one of the tie your damn boats down. That's all I can say. If you got a boat, tie your boat down. Tie it down good. Make sure it doesn't get off its moorings and just wreak havoc in the neighborhood. All right, I'm gonna get out of here. I'm done. I'll play my outro and get out of here. You guys are all great. Have a great day, guys.